YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and I wanted to do a quick summary. I'm a couple of days late getting to this, but I wanted to summarize the remainder of the events when I went down with the Dragon Squad. You can see I'm sporting the shirt now. Been there, got the shirt. MSI put on an awesome trip down in Austin, Texas, where I was able to go learn more about Ryzen processors and MSI, in this case the B350 motherboard line. And I kind of wanted to just walk through a couple of pieces of information. I'll probably splice in a little bit of B-roll from the trip to try and make things a little more interesting for you as I'm talking through this. But yeah, let's talk through it real quick. So I came home with this Ryzen 5 1600X, which is a 6-core, 12-thread processor, and this MSI B350 Tomahawk motherboard. And that's what's actually going into this build that one of you is going to win. We're almost done with it. I think that we just need to put in the graphics card and wire everything up. And this will be soon. You'll be seeing videos on how to win this. So let's talk a little bit more about Ryzen and the MSI B350 motherboards, what they're good for, what I learned about them on the trip, what are the best secrets of Ryzen. So obviously MSI is the one that took me down there, but as you look at the market, MSI really has the most options when it comes to the B350 chipset with your AM4 socket for the Ryzen. They have 18 different products you can choose from in the B350 lineup. This one is the B350 Tomahawk, like I mentioned. There is even some micro ATX builds on some of those so that you can do the smaller form factor builds. And just to kind of explain a couple of things, so like I said, MSI has the biggest variety of the B350 motherboards, and they look dang awesome and come with a lot of cool features. So some of the key features, just wanted to kind of mention real quick. You're going to have the steel armor on your PCIe slot, which is going to help with today's very bulky graphics cards. There's military grade components on it, so very durable, long lasting boards so that when you make this build, you can use them for years to come. DDR4 there's a boost system where you can go into the overclock mode basically for the RAM, so you're able to boost the performance of your RAM, something that MSI offers, so that's a sweet feature to have. And then also there's Mystic Lights, which we're going to actually demonstrate on this build when I get finished with it, and I'll show it to you, but it's an LED header that you can hook up to so that you can hook up more LED lights and you can control the lights on your motherboard and the LED lights and anything else that you have. It's a very cool feature. This B350 is part of what they would call their gaming series, which is kind of their mainstream gaming series. There is also an X370 series, if you're interested, which is an enthusiast series, which would be a grade higher. Now, what does that mean? What would you need if you're interested? The B350 series is going to be the perfect motherboard for someone who wants to get a Ryzen 7 or Ryzen 5 processor, and they only intend to run a single graphics card. Then the B350 is going to be the great lineup for you. You're not going to spend a lot of extra money on features in the board that you don't need. You still have an option for an M.2 PCIe solid state drive, and you can run your graphics card on the PCIe Gen 3 by 16. So you won't be bottlenecking any of those components. This board is not particularly made for SLI, though I do think it is Crossfire ready, which would be AMD's multiple GPU. But yeah, it's really meant for a single card, and in that case, this is going to be the perfect motherboard for your core gamer. So someone who's looking to build a budget rig or even a high-end rig, but you don't want to waste extra money on features in a motherboard that you know you won't need. And like I said, on top of that, it looks great. You can see it in the build over here. It looks absolutely fantastic. Great motherboard. I've been having a really easy time building with it. It's easy to build to. It's organized well. It's got all the features you could want, and it looks good. I mean, honestly, it's a fantastic motherboard, and the rest of their lineup's great too. You can check the links in the description if you want more information. So, what's the secret of Ryzen? What have I learned about Ryzen on the trip? So, many of you know that I actually do use an Intel Kaby Lake i7 in my build. Well, Air, why do you use that? Why do you not use Ryzen? What's the secret here? So, what I've learned about Ryzen is that it has a few things that it is extremely good at, and things that you need to be aware of. So in particular, this chip right here was one that I really wanted to get my hands on. This Ryzen 5 1600X is going to be a competitor with your i5 7600K. And the i5 is a 4-core, 4-thread processor, whereas the Ryzen at the exact same price point is a 6-core, 12-thread processor. And it runs at equal or slightly better performance in most games. We'll get a chance to benchmark that here in this Ryzen build and be able to prove that out. But I got to see a lot of the benchmarks that people run in different games. So basically, you get the same performance in-game as the i5 at the same price point, but then this processor is a workhorse compared to the i5 in the sense that those 2 extra cores and triple the threads, basically, that you're going to go run through there, mean that if you're going to render video or go through any heavy data crunching, or if games evolve and want to have more cores in the future based on how their developers push them, the Ryzen 5 is really probably your best budget for performance build processor out there right now, in my opinion. So am I ready to let this thing take over my high-end recording and gaming stuff? Not just yet, not this Ryzen 5. I'd certainly be interested to try the Ryzen 7. But if you're out there right now and you're in the market to go build a gaming computer in that $1,000 below price point, this is going to be a processor that gives you huge performance for the money and is going to hopefully make sure that you're going to get plenty of time out of it into the future. AMD did state that they were intending to use this socket for as many years as possible. And I want to say they said even through 2020, which would mean that they intend to try and keep this socket around so that your processor will be supported well into the future. So to me, that's the secret of Ryzen. Ryzen is value. That's what they're delivering to you, is value. So AMD delivers a processor with a ton of compute power, very nice on the gaming side, and you get a ton of value for your dollar. So this is a $250 US processor. There are other versions of the Ryzen 5 that come down some on that price point, so you could look for those options. But if you take this thing head to head with the i5 7600K, this is a very appealing option, and I'm extremely excited to fire it up. Like I said, I'll have it in this computer. I'll review the benchmarks with you. I'm going to actually underclock my Kaby Lake processor to make it look like the i5 7600K, and we'll run some benchmarks with the two side by side. But that's what I learned on the trip. And if you're looking for a Ryzen processor, don't look any further than MSI. They're the right way to go. I do appreciate them taking me on the trip and letting me have these parts so I could review them with you. Fantastic parts. Can't wait to get them fired up in this computer. If you have any questions, hit me up in the description. Thank you, MSI, for taking me on the trip. Thank you, AMD, for your hospitality and showing me the secrets of Ryzen. I hope this was useful to you if you're going to go build a computer. And like I said, please let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I'd love to talk through it with you and do my best to help you out. HeirofCarthage, signing out for now. I will see you all soon when we complete the build.